Now that we are getting the access right here for a specific category, we don't simply want to console log it, we actually want to save it to Redux store. So we can do state.genre or category name is equal to action.payload. And if you've used Redux before Redux Toolkit, this might seem awful or just plain ugly or illegal because we are actually mutating the original state. We're doing state.genre or category name and then we are overriding it. But in Redux Toolkit, this is the way to go. They've simplified the process so you no longer have to keep your state non-mutated. You can actually mutate it on your own. So we are doing this right now, and that way we are saving the data to our store. So how do we actually retrieve that data? Well, we're going to do that right inside of our sidebar using another hook called useSelector. Before, we've had API calls from Redux Toolkit query, and then we can simply call them like this, use get something query, and then we immediately get the data like this. That only works for Redux Toolkit query. When you're just creating slices with Redux Toolkit, then you have to use the selector to get the data out of it. And we can do it like this. Const genre or category name. Keep in mind that is coming from here, genre or category name, and we are updating it here. And that is going to be equal to use selector. In that selector, we have a callback function. And why is it even called selector? Because as a parameter, we are getting the entire state or the entire store, and we can select which slice do we want to get. Well, we want to say state dot current genre or category. So that is this exact slice that we are creating. Current genre or category, we can even see that here. I hope that it now makes just a bit more sense of why are we having different slices, because then we can fetch only that specific slice and not care about the rest of the cake. So now let's see what data do we have here. What is going to be this genre or category name? Let's console log it. I'm going to reload the page, clear the console, and simply click action. There we go. As you can see, we're getting different IDs straight inside of our sidebar. Now, based on this, we can actually dispatch some calls to get different movies. But if you think about it, we are not fetching the actual movies in the sidebar. So we're going to leave this here for later use, but for now, let's simply copy it. And ask yourself, where are we fetching the movies? Well, we are fetching them inside of our movies component, right here. Use get movies query. So we want to copy this line from our sidebar to our movies right here. And of course, we also need to copy the import for the select genre or category and then paste it here. There we go. We already have the use selector. So what are we doing now? We're getting the genre or category name, but now not in the sidebar right here. We don't need it here yet. We're getting it inside of the movies, and that's the place where we're actually fetching the movies. So now that we have the genre ID or category name, we can pass that data into our use get movies query. I'm going to pass in an object, and then inside of that object, I'm going to say genre ID or category name. Now I see that I have a typo. This here shouldn't be in genre or category name. It should have been genre ID or category name. So let's go ahead and change it in a few places. We can start by changing it here, or we can just search genre or category name. So that is going to be the second icon on the left side, genre or category name, and then just change that to genre ID or category name. So just click this arrow and replace all of the instances. It's going to say replace 4 occurrences across 3 files, and I'm going to click replace. Now let's manually go ahead and take a look as well. We've done some changes in the features right here. This should have been genre ID or category name. This here should have been genre ID or category name. Then if we go into the sidebar, in here, we're also fetching the genre ID or category name. And then finally, in the movies, genre ID or category name. And that's the exact thing that we are passing into the use get movies query. We also want to pass the page, because remember, we were using a static one as the page, but now we need to be able to update it. So I'm going to create a new use state here, and I'm going to name it page, set page, and a default is going to be set to 1. Now inside of this object, we can pass genre ID or category name, and we can also pass our page. Now you might be wondering, how are we actually going to get this data inside of our get movies? Well, let's click right here. I'm now in the TMDB under services, and take a look at this. We can get that data immediately as a function parameter right here. Whatever you pass into this function call, you are getting right here. So we're getting an object that's going to contain a genre ID or category name, as well as the page. But now you might be wondering, in here we have popular movies. How are we going to show categories or, for example, genres? And the answer is that we're going to split this into multiple endpoints. We're getting the data right here, get movies, but this here doesn't have to be an instant return. So I'm going to split this into a function block like this, and then this is going to be return right here, and that's going to be for getting the popular movies. But we can create a new endpoint, and we can do that by saying if genre ID or category name, and if type of genre ID or category name is equal to string. And you might be wondering, why are we doing this? Well, think about it. For our categories, it looked something like this: popular, top rated, and upcoming. And if we want to fetch that, our category name is a string. But what was the case with our categories? I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to say right here, a number. That's because our genre ID looked like this: 12, 15, 16, and so on. So let me write a comment right here. For the first one, I'm going to say get movies by category. And then for the bottom one, I'm going to say get movies by genre. And they're going to have a different endpoint depending on what we want to fetch. So in this case, I want to return a template string that's going to be movie /. Then we want to get the genre ID or category name. And then finally, we want to say the page is equal to page, and API underscore key is equal to TMDB API key. This is for getting the movies by category. And if we want to get them by genre, we need to do something similar. That's going to be discover, and then / movie, question mark, with underscore genres is equal to, and then we provide genre ID. The page is going to remain the same, and also the API key is going to remain the same. Finally, what is this last query for? We can copy this, and we're going to say get movies, or rather just get popular movies. So this is for getting popular movies. But I think we don't even need that, because popular movies are included inside of our top categories. But for now, let's leave it here, because maybe at the start, while we haven't yet picked the category, we always want to show the popular movies. Yes, that's the reason why we still need to have this here, because at the start, the category is not going to be selected. So now we're actually making different API requests depending on if we have the genre or category right here. And now you might be wondering, okay, so if we go to movies, we're calling our useGetMovies query, we're getting the genre or category name from here, we're passing it into the useGetMovies query, straight into here, and then we're making a special API request. But how are we getting the right movies for the right genre? Well, just for the fact that we're actually making the request to something like movie / popular, that's going to give us access to the right movies. And then, using Redux Toolkit, our movies are going to return straight for us right here inside of this data object. And for that, we already have the entire logic for. We are sending that data as movies to our movie list, and then we are finally looping over those movies and rendering a movie component for each one. So if we've done everything correctly, we should be able to switch between different genres and categories. Let's take a look. I'm gonna reload the page, and we do have one syntax error on line 30 of our TMDB.js. Oh, there we go. I just figured out that I have a comma right here, which was fine when we just had one return, but now this is in a function block, so it has to be a semicolon. There we go, that was the small syntax error, and now that we fixed that, let's go ahead and check it out. As soon as I reloaded the page, we can see something, and now if I click something like action, it says, no movies that match that name, please search for something else. This is our error handler giving us this message, but let's go to a network tab to see if we can get more info. I'm going to clear the network tab and make another request by clicking on action. There we go, we got one request and we get 200. If we go to preview, looks like we aren't getting any movies though. So let's try to go with a few other ones. Comedy, that doesn't work either. So now let's try to debug this situation. The way I would start debugging this is I would look into the name of this request. We can see that if we go to headers, that it's a request to discover movie with genres 35. Page is set to 1 and API key is correct. So why are we not getting any results back? Well, let's go to our documentation and let's see how we can get the movies for a specific genre. I'm gonna go to our movies right here, and then there must be an endpoint to get movies for a specific genre. We can see here, get latest, get now playing, get popular, but genres are, I think, under discover. Yeah, we can go to discover and then movie discover, and then in here, we should be able to pass the genre. Let's see. I'm gonna search for genre, and there it is, with genres, which is a string. So technically, if we pass a string of 12, the request would look like this. HTTPS, and then we have discover, movie, API key, and then we need to pass with genres is equal to 12, which we do have. So I'm wondering, why is this still not getting populated? Let's try clicking top rated. And that does work. So we can see the actual movies getting here from top rated. Upcoming works as well, and popular works as well. So that's phenomenal. So we are getting the categories, but we're not getting the genres. That gives us a bit more info because that means that this thing works. If genre ID or category name is a string, then it's going to try to make a category request right here. But apparently something is wrong with this. So let's add a few console logs. First, I'm going to add a console log here by saying genre, ID, or category name. And then I'm going to add one more right here. And I'm going to say something like here, because I want to know if our code went inside of this if block. Let's go ahead and save that and try one more time. I'm going to clear the console and click action. We unfortunately cannot see anything. As I keep clicking, still nothing happens. I'm going to reload the page and I'll try to click action. There we go. Now we can see it. So we do get 28 and we do get here. That means that we must have a typo here. So let's see. I'm going to copy this demo request right here and then we can compare it. I'm going to put it right here and then we can take only the things that we need. That's going to be discover. Then we have /movie. The API key we have here, so that shouldn't really matter. That's fine. And language. In this case, I don't think we need language. That's an optional parameter. We have sort by. We have include adult, false, include video, false. The page is here, and here is our with genres. So let's see. With underscore genres is equal to 12. That should be correct. And there we go. I've spotted our issue. We have an extra question mark right here. That's not good. We only need to have one question mark here at the end of our actual query where we want to start adding parameters. And then once we finish with one parameter, we shouldn't have a question mark, we should have an and sign. Same thing as we have here. See? Page, and then for the API key, we have an and sign. Same thing here. So this was just a really small typo, but it shows you how you can really go crazy if you don't spot it soon enough. Now, if we save this, let's go ahead and test it out. I'm going to go to our film player, reload the page, close the console, and go to Adventure. There we go. You are able to see that nice loading screen. Let's go to Animation, Comedy, Crime, and it looks to me that all of the different genres are working perfectly. We can go to Fantasy. There we go, Dragon Fury. Let's go to Music. That works as well. Finally, let's go to Popular to see if that works. It does, and that's beautiful. We've just added so much more functionality by simply adding these category and the functionality to switch between different categories. Great. This has been a major feature, and I really hope you like it. This is really starting to become a real web application. We're going to take a bit of a break for this lecture, and then we're going to be back with adding even more functionality. Great job.